There was a study done in Israel to compare, do kids with ADHD have a higher likelihood of having writing problems than just the general population of students. The study took 6th grade boys. They took 20 who had ADHD with no known reading difficulties, and they took 20 just general ed kids with no known disabilities at all. They tested them on handwriting and spelling and just writing composition for 50 to 55 minutes. They assessed their spelling and handwriting. They used lined paper with red margins, and this was done in Israel, so they were writing in Hebrew. They also did the WISC-R IQ test. Depending on some of their answers on some of the subtests, some of the kids had a shortened version of this test. What they discovered when testing these kids is the kids with ADHD had significantly more spelling errors on the test than the average gen ed child. They performed, however, both groups performed similarly on reading speed and letter naming. The ADHD kids showed a unique pattern of letter insertions, substitutions, transpositions, and omissions. They also they kind of linked this to impaired attention. They have more problems with their motor planning because they have attention issues. The ADHD group required a longer time to write longer words. However, they wrote shorter words at about the same speed as the general ed kids. They noticed that ADHD group's handwriting was more disproportionate. Some letters were bigger, some were smaller, and they were significantly wider than the control group. And handwriting was just all over the place as far as, spacing and just inconsistent letter sizes all over the place. They discovered that the ADHD kids displayed poor time utilization, but they didn't feel like it was because they were inadequately prepared and they were not given proper writing instruction. They just felt that they would start writing, get distracted, look around, go back to the writing. So they just displayed less time management skills than the control group. They also made excessive corrections in their writing. So this slows them down as well. If they're writing a word, erasing it, writing another word, erasing it, going back and erasing a whole sentence, that is going to definitely limit their time writing. In the study, 12 out of 20 ADHD kids displayed the following characteristics of dysgraphia. They made spelling errors over 1.6 standard deviations above the mean, so 1.6 standard deviations over the control group. Their handwriting was also 1.6 standard deviations wider and less legible than the control group. They also surveyed the parent, and they said that there were many more parents that complained of not being able to read their students' handwriting in the ADHD group compared to the control group as well. The study mentioned that there's little known about the neuropsychological processes that contribute to dysgraphia and ADHD. They seem to share the same genetic etiology, but they did not. That wasn't really the focus of this study to determine the neurological similarities of the two. They agreed that more interventions are needed and more research is needed to figure this out. But it does seem like the ADHD kids do struggle with handwriting at a higher rate than just the normal gen ed student with no known disabilities.